So we are live. I'm going to give it 3 seconds for humans to show up if humans want to show up. And usually this feed is slightly delayed.
Yeah.
But I'll begin anyway for anybody coming in here because these things do populate on YouTube pretty quickly. All right, welcome guys. Hi, my name's Christopher.
I'm Angela.
That's Angela. We are the Dinosaur Omelet. Welcome back. Thanks for coming in. This is our weekly live video session. Let me move this camera a little. So we do weekly educational sessions here, and it's Thursday, so we're doing that again at 8:30. Probably starting, hopefully, 9 o'clock, because it'll be getting dark. I'm waiting for springtime, which isn't here yet. So a little bit about us while I wait for humans to come in. I usually wait 3 minutes or so. So if you guys want to fast forward 3 or 4 minutes, we'll probably start talking about our subject tonight, which is candling eggs. But a little bit about us. Tell them a little bit about us, please.
Our big thing is encouraging other people and sharing just good information based on our experience and research to become more self-sufficient. We want to encourage people to be self-sufficient and do things with their family, their kids, learn skills that benefit you and your health. Your well-being and your quality of life.
Make you happy.
Yeah, so we do talk often about different animals that are great for small homesteading, any skill level, and that are productive with producing meat and eggs.
Yeah, I was going to say the main thing is to try things. Try things. You know, it's, what do you call it? Trial and error. You learn by failing, you learn by screwing up here and there, but you accumulate all these skills and knowledge over time. So these things, I mean, these are passive. So when you guys are watching videos online, my thing is most people watch videos online and it's just entertainment. It's not applicable, it's not really practical, it's just, you know, what do you call it? Dopamine. So the stuff, which is fine, we like being entertained, but like, the niche market, the niche of people that we deal with in the homestead community, you guys are more like self-sufficient minded, skills acquisition mindset. So investing your time into learning is kind of like what we do because you have to, because it makes what you're doing at home more enjoyable. I want to learn how to grow a tomato because that brings pleasure to my life. So you homestead guys are much more independent, self-directed, and disciplined. Not to badmouth regular humans, but you guys have a good way about self-discipline and learning. Toast Gaming. Hello there, piece of toast. How are you, man? I'm pretty good. How are you? Thanks for coming in. So, yeah, and I guess finally, if you guys don't know us, we're a small animal hatchery homestead in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is actually very beautiful. I suggest you go stalk it on Google Earth. We have rivers and mountains. It's really pretty down here. And yeah, we're focused on Jumbo Coturnix quail. We raised them. We're very strict with our breeding. Okay, you guys, we're getting in the spring and everybody's getting tractor, is that what it's called? Tractor store fever with the chickens?
Tractor supply.
Okay. If you're new to these animals, chickens, quail, duck, whatever, just do your due diligence, learn about proper breeding and get good quality animals. Otherwise, you're going to have critters and you're going to learn. And you'll be like, oh, the ones I just bought a year ago and I've been investing in could have been a lot better. So just do a little due diligence. That makes sense?
Yeah.
That's usually an issue. Well, not usually an issue, but
Yeah,
you can get better critters.
Yeah, good quality means good performance, top performance in laying eggs or meat production.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily cost. Like you need to spend X amount of money. It's you need to spend time finding quality breeders. You know what because they're doing things properly. Okay, cool. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about candling eggs. Usually we do, this is probably a quicker subject, I would think.
Yeah.
Because usually we've done entire how to hatch eggs. By the way, go to our old live videos if you like long format stuff, because we do a lot of in-depth teaching, the hatching videos, quail, raising, there's a bunch of videos in there. And in the description of these videos we make, I have a ton of really good links that I put down there for you guys for free. How to raise quail, how to raise chicks, and they're easy to read, family-friendly stuff. I wrote it for kids, and because I know adults also like simple. We don't want to have to read a book to learn something. We're no longer in the age of give me a pamphlet this thick. It's just tell me what I need to know and do it quickly, right? I mean, that's what people want. So that's why I wrote these, all those PDFs down in the links in this video. All right, so tonight we're talking about candling eggs, why we do that, when we do it, what it's important for, do we need to do it, etc. And this lady is the expert. She knows about, you're the hatcher, you're the high quality breeder. So I guess, are you going to go by this outline I did?
I actually thought there was a couple interesting things because this outline goes over also eating eggs. And sometimes you'll see like a red dot or something in there. This actually talks about why. And I thought those things are really interesting.
So what is candling? Candling is a technique used to this is from the notes I wrote. Candling is a technique used to examine the interior of your egg by shining a bright light through it. Here, you can take this. I don't want to read all this stuff that I wrote. But candling is just what you know it to be. You're taking your light and you're shining through your egg. Your egg is not opaque, and you will have plenty of visual information from your egg. And we'll show you candling. In fact, let me do that right now because people like demonstrations.
It's to gain information about what's going on with your egg, to know if...
Is that dark enough? Yeah.
Probably. To know if the shell is cracked and intact, or to know where the air cell is, and also you can monitor development. So this is a quail egg.
This is a broken quail egg. I'm hoping you can see the cracks. So with a candling device, so you're looking on Amazon or you're talking to chicken people and they're advising you buy this, but no. Just get a nice little pen light or flashlight. Has this worked fine?
Yeah, so if you're candling quail eggs, they're the membrane just within the shell is thicker than chicken and duck eggs. So the light you use will have to be stronger to see details inside, like vein development and such, and embryo development. So a strong LED light would be good to use. Chicken eggs and other eggs, you can get away with using a cell phone light.
Right.
Yeah.
So quick demonstration. So these are dual, what do you call it, brightness lights. So you may want a variable light if you're doing this. But anyway, obviously very easy to do. Candling. Now I brought a very cracked egg to show you guys.
Can you see them?
You can turn that off.
All right.
Maybe that'll work a little bit. So you're seeing your cracks. Now I brought a very, very smashed egg for demonstration purposes. So when you're having this, you're candling, what do? Gently squeeze. So sometimes when you're candling, I'm going to let Angela explain this, but this is all I know. So
yeah, so this is like an egg that was like
smashed up.
Really smashed up.
But
so if you're candling and you want to see if there's just like a small hairline crack, sometimes there's a crack there and you don't notice. So if you lightly squeeze it, it'll expand.
You can see that. So you see the difference in that. Now it's a little exaggerated because I just want to have you guys see. But when you have an egg and you're candling, you can lightly squeeze it and it'll show you any compromise. I just wanted to share that at the beginning of this thing to give you guys an idea what all this was about.
Like smashed, it doesn't even roll.
Okay, so please proceed. Let's go with why are we candling?
Yeah, so if you're going to be hatching eggs, you're going to want to make sure there are no cracks. The reason being
Hello, Sergey.
You don't want cracked eggs in your incubator because that is a way for them to leak the contents of the egg into the area of the incubator where your other eggs are growing. That could spoil your other eggs. It could cause a bacteria breeding ground. So you want to keep your incubator as clean as you can.
Can I be the...
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So if I put a cracked egg into my incubator, it could possibly start leaking. Will the crack or the leakage likely increase the longer it's in there, or is that just something that's going to happen?
You'll get varying results with a cracked egg in the incubator. It might not leak at all, but the contents in that cracked egg will evaporate and it'll have much less fluid in there if it's left in there for quite a while. It could leak a little bit just on its own shell, or it could leak onto eggs around it or underneath it. It could even burst.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing is with the cracked eggs and why we're candling, you don't want to introduce a potential infection.
And then if there is,
if it starts leaking, right?
if the chick is if the embryo is viable and it does start growing, and a cracked egg, it's probably likely not going to make it to full growth. So there's really no good reason to keep a cracked egg in there.
A little more about cracks. And I know this is going, it seems like, well, what does this have to do with anything? So the cracked eggs are, we did an egg video. They're really fantastic designs. So the eggs are porous and they're exchanging air and moistures leaching out of that egg. You're going to lose water from that egg as it's sitting, and there's an air exchange. So when you introduce a crack, now you have this huge opening. I mean, it's at a microscopic level, but the pores are microscopic that are in an egg, which allow air exchange. But the crack, that's like a huge fissure going down the center, so it's going to evaporate much more rapidly and no good. And of course, like she said, potentially leak, bringing germs into the incubator. That's a bad one.
And with any incubation, you're going to want to monitor the humidity levels. Depending on where you're located, if your incubator is in a room that has high humidity, you may not need to put much water in the incubator at all to increase the humidity to the proper levels. Or if it's a dry room, then you'll have to have a good amount of water in there in the carrying vessel for water. Now the porous egg will be regulated properly with the right amount of fluids in there as it's growing, with the humidity level being proper.
Super. Now, tools and equipment, we already talked about flashlights, so step by step.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask this like I'm watching, because I'm new to quail, and we deal with a lot of quail people on this channel, and they're a very popular bird. Take a look at the description down there. There's
but we can also talk about chickens too.
Yeah, we'll talk about chickens too. So, well, this applies to both. So my question is, I want to hatch eggs, and I started collecting my eggs. Do I candle my eggs before I put them in the incubator? What am I looking for? Why? And when do I do that?
As you're collecting them, fresh as let's say I collected some eggs today, and you want to set them in a tray or an egg carton or in something so that their position will be pointy end down and the wide end up, because the air cell needs to be at the top, which is the wide end. That's where the air cell will stay. You want to make sure the air cell doesn't get dislodged or loosened by rough handling or anything like that. So if it's pointy end down, the air cell will be more likely to stay where it's supposed to be. But you're going to want to do a candle immediately, like as you're setting your eggs up and in your collecting process. So you collect eggs today, candle them, remove any cracked ones, and only keep the intact ones. And then
I was going to ask, let's say I'm candling my egg. Will I be able to tell if it's a double yolk?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, maybe in a chicken egg, because you can see a lot easier in a chicken egg.
Now with the quail eggs, if you guys are hatching them, your double yolks are usually the big giant ones.
Yeah, so in general, you really don't want to, it's not a great idea to collect eggs that are above 18 grams, because you are getting into double yolk territory, and it's not good to hatch chicks in a double yolked egg because it's low likelihood they'll make it to hatch. But if they do, then the chicks are going to be smaller and weaker. Yeah, so that's not a good start to life.
I won't have like a two-headed Frankenstein one?
No.
I was wanted a freak bird. Okay, yeah. So all right. Good. So we're candling once we collect them to make sure there's no cracks.
So then when you...
And is there any other issue with... I'm just asking what people might be thinking in their head. Is there any issue with the air cell? Could the air cell be damaged? Will candling show us that?
So what you're looking for, yeah, this is a good question. When you're looking at the eggs, you're looking for more than just cracks. You will be able to see the air cell, which it looks like a bubble. If it's loose in the egg, if it's not fastened, it'll look like a bubble moving around the edge as you move the egg around. If it is fastened, it'll just look like an empty space at the top of the wide part of the egg.
Be like the fastened one.
Yeah, you want it to be fastened. If it is loose, then again, keep it pointy end down in general, but then that'll help.
You can still hatch that.
Yeah, it should. Okay. It should be able to attach. However, if you see the air cell it's just kind of stuck on the side of the egg, it's not looking like it's going to move, then it's probably not a good one to keep. because as the chick is developing, well, when the chick is getting ready to hatch, its head is it's gonna position its body so its head is up at that air cell, and what happens is they pierce the air cell first within the egg, and then their head's in that space to breathe.
It's like in those submarine movies when they're all sinking, they're like,
yes. And then they'll start to peck with their little tooth on their little tiny beaks. They'll start to peck at the egg shell interior, and this is called unzipping. And as they peck, they're going to be going in a circle around the air cell.
it's amazing.
As
So
they
these little
peck,
things
they're
like that.
actually, so there's veins in there, blood vessels and stuff in that membrane that they're enclosed in. So they have to keep they have to peck to get out. But as they're pecking, they're disrupting those veins, and it'll start to clot, and they'll seal, so the baby won't bleed out. So it's it does more than just getting them out.
Oh, that's very
So if
interesting.
the air cell is not in the proper position, then the baby will run out of air.
So they got a little bit of time,
yeah.
but not tons of time.
They have enough time to naturally hatch, but if it's sometimes it'll be the air cell will be on the side, and maybe the baby's head, the chick's head will be start there, but then as they're rotating, because they're going to naturally rotate, then they'll get out and of that air cell, and it's not good.
Okay, I got a couple curveball questions. Let's say I'm candling my chicken eggs. This happens sometimes, and we notice there's one already developing.
When you collect them?
Yeah, like I missed an egg.
Yeah,
and
or like
one's
so
developing.
you missed an egg maybe a week ago, and you found it under a hen. So yeah, you're not going to want to keep that one.
Should I put it back with the chicken or just?
If you want her to hatch it.
No, she'll hatch it, but don't put it in the incubator.
I would not,
Then,
because the timing, is going to be completely off with the other chicks that are developing.
oh, another good question you guys might have: should I wash my eggs? We did another video about washing eggs, so should I wash my eggs I'm collecting? Let's say they look a little dirty, and I want to put them on the counter. Should I wash my eggs while I'm
Now,
doing them?
while you're collecting them, no, I would not, because you want to keep that natural bloom that coats, the clear coating that coats the egg when they're laid. It's a protective barrier against bacteria.
Also known as the cuticle.
And you don't want to wash that off, because then now that barrier is gone, and then the bacteria will be able to get in and compromise the
It's
the
a
interior.
fascinating thing. We did a bloom video. The bloom coating is really amazing because it allows air exchange, and it's porous enough for the molecules of air to exchange, but it's also like tight enough that it won't allow big bacteria to get in there. So it keeps it clean and it keeps it sterile. Right?
So ideally you want to be keeping eggs that are already looking pretty clean and are not washed. However, if you're in a pinch and your options with eggs happen to be like you end up with dirty ones, and you're trying to keep as many as you can because maybe you don't have a lot, then I would say don't wash them until right when you're ready to put them in the incubator. And I'm not encouraging like that you wash. What I would say is I would float them, take a container of water, and put the eggs a couple at a time depending on how big the container is. Put them in the water so that they submerge. This will give you some more information, by the way.
Do we have to do this?
You do not, but I'm just saying if you're
Just to let you guys know.
you have dirty eggs.
We did a hatching video. Go watch that for the complete instructions on that. But please continue.
Yeah, so a float test is something that will give you more information, which again, you don't have to do if you don't want to, but you can. If the egg sinks down to the bottom of the container of water and it just lays on its side, then you know it's a fine, fresh egg, nothing wrong with it. And sometimes you might see some bubbles because if you were collecting for a week or two in a dry room, then they could have some of the fluid inside could have evaporated a little bit, so that'll kind of help
Hello, Jocko.
moisten them. And if the egg stands up, pointy end down, big end, rounded end top going up in the water, that means it's not as fresh, but it's still usable. It's not bad, it's just not as fresh. If you're seeing like a really long stream of bubbles, It just keeps going, and there's a good chance that egg is cracked, so you might want to double check with the light. If the egg is floating completely, then it's a bad egg. Like, it's not good to eat, it's not good to hatch, so don't use it.
Bloom could have been compromised, or
if your eggs are dirty, while you have them in the float test, just a couple minutes, the water will help kind of loosen the dirt and the mud or whatever the muck is. After you're done floating, take the egg out, and then I would just gently wipe it. This is going to remove the bloom, but then you can put it straight into the incubator without having it sitting around, and then there's a good chance that it'll be just fine. I've done this many times actually without any issue.
You should be using sterile incubators.
Yeah, your incubator should be clean and tidy. But as a rule, you should use clean eggs and don't wash. But again, if you have to use eggs that are dirty because you don't have very many options, then yeah, do it right before you put them in. So
okay, cool. Excellent. All right.
So you were saying, you had asked about when do you candle. Then somebody said when you collect.
Yeah, so now, when are we candling? So we're collecting the eggs. We're making sure eggs aren't junked and not cracked and not bad. And it's, I don't know, time to throw them in the incubator. I've collected, and they're going in the incubator. I've already candled them.
Yeah, so they're fine. So you just put them in.
So day 0,
is that what we call it? It's the day you set them.
Day 0, we're starting like 0 o'clock.
Because it's not like, it could be a middle of the day, end of the day, morning. It's just
so we're throwing the eggs in the incubator. I'm going to candle them again at some point, right?
Yeah,
because I want to know if they're developing.
Yeah, so pretty much you want to wait until about day 7. So the first day you put them in the incubator is day 0. The next day will be 1, 2, 3. So day 7, if they're fertile and developing, then by day 7, you'll start to see development.
Just for quails?
Any time before day 7, you're really not going to be able to see too much going on. So it's just not, if you're going for development, visual development, it's not really worth looking before day 7. So quail or chickens or ducks.
Okay.
Yeah. Now when you candle, again with quail, you're going to need to use a really bright, like LED type light. Chickens could use cell phone light.
Again, the membrane in the quail egg is a lot tougher and it's a lot thicker than a chicken egg. Chicken egg's very thin. Quail egg has a thicker membrane, which makes it a little more opaque. So you want a brighter light.
Yeah. And so what you're going to see, do you have an echo? Either quail or chicken egg. It's pointy. It's going to be sitting pointy end down. Now, sometimes people don't have like an egg tray in their incubators that hold the eggs like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have a tray at all.
Just laying?
So they're laying, and that's okay because they're stationary. They're not like being jostled around violently or anything to loosen that aerosol. So it's okay when they're in the incubator. Now, when you're collecting them, just keep them in egg cartons or something so they're like this. But when they're in the incubator, if they're laying on their side, then you're going to have to hand rotate them if you don't have an egg turner. Like once a day or 3 times a day. It's got to be an odd number because you don't want the developing embryo to end up sticking to a side.
So you're hatching video.
Yes. So
in the live, it was a live video, right? Yeah, in our live section, there's a very extensive how to hatch. If you watch it, you'll know how to hatch an egg.
So at day 7, can I see your light? It doesn't have to be on. I like to just like hold it at the top.
Make it glow, maybe. See if it glows. Okay. That one's not developing.
Right. There's a tiny air cell here, and it's because this is a fresh egg, and the air cell, the humidity levels and such, or dryness of the air, that affects the size of the air cell. But the fresh eggs, the air cell is going to be small, but it's at the top here. So I hold the light at the top, and then what you'll see, here, can you hold that? Is by day 7 is little tiny red veins starting to come down from the top here.
I won't see a chicken.
You won't. It's possible you might see tiny little speck of light.
But I'll start seeing veins.
Yeah, the veins tells you it's growing and healthy. And you'll see it in both quail, the tiny quail eggs or these chicken eggs.
So candling on day 7, as we've begun our incubation, we should start seeing development of these veins.
Yeah, and you will likely be able to see the embryo.
If I do not see them, should I continue incubating that egg?
By day 7? Yeah, I would say it's not unsafe. You can keep the eggs in there the whole time if they're not developing, but...
What's the point?
Yeah.
I need that.
So, well, but some people want to know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
But yeah, if you don't see any development, you don't see any red veins, and you don't see the little embryo, yeah, you can take the eggs out because they're not...
Can I ask a hatching question as we're handling eggs? What are the fertility rates? What kind of fertility rates? Don't get into the huge nuance of numbers of birds and all that. But should I expect, if I know that I have a high probable fertility rate, that I should have high development?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like my ratio of hens to roosters is good with my quail. So I know I should have a high fertility. And I should have high development. So if I'm not getting development, it might have to do with my incubation process.
Well, there's lots of different reasons. It could be you have the right ratio of roosters to hens, but maybe there's a really hot spell of weather, or maybe really cold bitterness suddenly, and the birds just aren't breeding. For the while you're collecting the eggs. Hi. Or maybe your roosters are getting a little older and they're not doing their job, but you think they are. And so an interesting thing too is that fertility in the eggs. I've tracked chicken eggs, and it's the same with the quail. I've tracked fertility in the eggs up to 3 weeks. So the rooster bred the hen and didn't then he was separated
Skip
from them.
town, he's gone.
And the eggs were still good.
The eggs are still fertile.
She was still fertile.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks. So that was really cool.
Cool. 21 days.
Yeah, and that's not like, give or take depending on your hen, but anyway.
The reason, so like if your rooster gets iced, like some predator comes along and you were planning on, reproducing your chickens?
Yeah, collect the eggs.
You still have time. It's not like the next day
it doesn't cease.
They're no longer fertile.
Yeah. And then also it could be maybe the incubator, like you said, maybe the incubator temperature wasn't proper. So another thing you're going to see by day 7 and after is you're taking note of the development with the veins. And it is neat to see, like, just you can see the tiny baby growing. But if you're not sure, just keep it in there, and the veins will get stronger as they develop, and then you'll become sure.
If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments.
So sometimes you'll see no vein development, but you'll see like a red line in there. It might just be along the side, or it might be like just you see it's a definite red line, and you might be like, what in the world? What does it mean? So what happened is it was fertile. The egg was fertile. The embryo began to develop, but it died early stage. So that's what that means. So take the egg out. Yeah.
So no veins, but a line.
Mm-hmm. If it's not fertile, then it'll look like as though you cracked the egg open in a frying pan. It just looks like the clear albumen. Is that how you say that?
Albumen. Yeah.
Albumen. And the
chicken
yolk.
The whites and the yolks.
Yeah, you'll be able to shine the light on there, and you can see the yolk in there, and nothing going on.
And that one can get.
And sometimes it'll look kind of cloudy. It won't look like a clear yolk, but it looks kind of cloudy in there, or opaque-ish. And you might think, well, what's that mean? It could mean that there's the egg got compromised somehow, the interior got compromised, and there's some sort of bacteria, some sort of decomposition, it was a bad egg.
Yeah, and all this stuff, if you guys have kids, this is a really good learning process, and it's really something interesting for the little ones to involve themselves with, to see the development. What's cooler?
It is really interesting.
Growing a tomato is cool, but imagine hatching your own chicken. That's even cooler.
Yeah, because then they start to move.
Yeah.
It's neat to see. So that's day 7.
So day 7 we checked. We have our eggs. We know which ones are developing. We know which ones we don't. So now I'm going to stick them back.
Now, in general, if you're just tracking to make sure everybody's growing, then I would say the next and last time to candle would be right before you lock them down to hatch. So when you lock them down, that means rotation of the eggs, daily rotation of the eggs cease. So they're now just going to be they're going to be, if they're in an egg turner like this, they're going to be taken out and set like this and no more turning. If they're already like this, they're just going to stay like that, but you're not going to turn them anymore. And the humidity level will be bumped up to help them with the hatching process. So when you're about to put them in that stage of lockdown, it's good to check again to see if they're developing or if somebody had passed.
So what day am I doing my second? I'm just going to probably do 2 candlings.
Yeah.
Day 7. Well, I guess it's 3 once I collect the eggs. Day 7 of incubation. And then let's say it's my quails.
Yeah, if it's quail, then you'll want to do it either day 14 or day 15.
Prior to lockdown.
To lock them down, yeah.
All right, and then what's chickens?
Chickens would be day 18.
So I'm making sure that they're developing and nobody died.
Yeah,
because sometimes they can die.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to check to make sure nobody's dead in there.
So what you're going to see when you candle is the air cell will be nice and big, so it'll look bright with the light. And the veins will be very thick and red. It'll look like life. You'll see the baby in there. You'll likely see him kicking. His head will be up here. You might not be able to see like a ton of detail because his little body will be taking up a bunch of space. And his body is it's dense, so you won't be able to see through it. But a lot of times you can see their feet. And it's neat to see ducklings. Ducklings are so big, are so cute. You can see their webbed feet. You can see their bill. But with the quail, yeah, you'll see their shape in there. You'll see them kicking. The chickens, same thing. It'll just be, you might be able to see a little bit more. Now, if you're tracking for educational purposes, whether it's just your own curiosity and watching them develop, or you're teaching your kids or what have you, you can candle. I wouldn't recommend candling quail eggs more than what we just discussed because they're so small. So then if you take them out of the incubator, then the temperature of the egg can be affected much faster than a larger egg like this, and you'll risk the chick dying, which is too much of the dropping of humidity levels and temperature. But I would recommend doing that with chicken eggs or larger birds.
Can I throw in a comment? So watch the kids. The kids want to open up the incubator all the time and keep checking the eggs.
Yeah, you don't want to have the levels keep going all
Yeah, you
wonky.
may want to discuss that if you have kids and they want to keep checking. Mommy, I want to see my chicken. You're going to kill your baby chicken if you keep opening it and changing the temperature and humidity. But again, that's a really good learning opportunity.
Yeah, so just be quick and, take an egg out. If you're just wanting to learn with the development, then you will see the embryo getting larger. You'll, depending on which bird type you're monitoring, you'll be able to see the eyes and just the body itself. You'll be able to see it moving around and it'll, continue to grow. Cool. So it's very interesting.
Question. I love I'm going to give you another curveball question. I've been feeding my hens a crappy diet, and it doesn't have enough calcium. My shells are a little weak. They're not shattering, but they're not really strong. And I noticed they have a tendency to break a little easier. Is that bad for the potential chicks that I might try to hatch?
So I've noticed once in a while I might have one or two eggs where it even feels to the touch.
I just thought
it just feels thin. It doesn't feel smooth. The ones that I handled anyway, they felt a little more coarse. And
they had texture.
Yeah, it's not a rule. That's why I'm not really focusing. Anyway, so what tends to happen is they seem to be more porous because of that thin shell, and the survival rate of an embryo doesn't usually, at least in my experience, isn't the greatest. if at all, if there's any development at all, because the shell, the content in the shell can evaporate much easier, and it could even crack. But I've noticed the thin-shelled ones. I've noticed they
so calcium.
They lose a lot of the fluid inside, and no development.
So
happens.
calcium is important to make sure the hens are getting the proper amount.
Yes, you want properly strong shells.
Our dear friend Vernon was asking, do we have any chickens that lay brown eggs? Not really. It's like tannish. We have black Australorps, so we have those, and the quail, and the ducks, which I throw their eggs into muffins and stuff because they're so fatty. Yeah. I was going to ask. I think I had something. I guess that might have been it. Calcium in the diet with brittle eggs. Mm-hmm. You're allowing more potential moisture and air exchange, and it can compromise that egg. And they will not live.
Well, it's in the.
So just make sure, you guys, if you are going to be hatching, or you should be giving them the proper amount of calcium anyway. Mm-hmm. We did a very good egg video about why calcium is important, like a week or two ago. I was curious if the brown chicken eggs were as hard to see the growth like quail eggs. That's actually a good question because of the opacity of the color.
Yeah, no, the chicken eggs are amazingly bright when I shine the light. Like I can't use my cell phone light on the quail eggs, but I can use it very easily.
This glows. I mean,
chicken eggs.
It looks like it wouldn't glow like that, but this thing just lights up.
Because it's bigger, the veins are naturally larger.
Quail egg, not
because
so
it's a
much.
Bigger embryo, so everything in the chicken egg is just it's just much easier to see. But yeah, I'm not sure about those really dark eggs. There's some chickens that lay really, really dark brown, the Copper Moran type chickens. But it's a good question.
They look like, so we were talking about eggs in one of our egg videos, I guess last week or the week before. They look like they're healthier because they're so dark brown. Mm-hmm. I even think they look healthier, but they're just the same. It's just the egg color. But yeah, the opacity of the egg should, I don't know about the super dark eggs.
Yeah. But
the brown eggs, the white eggs, they're very similar in opacity when candling.
I thought this was this has to do with eating eggs.
So no longer candling. Just when we crack them open.
What are you saying?
This is with the eating eggs. Just go ahead, talk about the blood spots.
Oh, so there sometimes when you get eggs just from the store to eat, you crack them open and there might be like a blood spot.
People get scared when they see that. They're like, I'm not eating that.
Yeah, so that can have something to do with ruptured blood vessels in the hen's reproductive tract
while they're producing
while they're making the egg.
The egg takes about 24 hours to make from scratch inside the chicken.
And that's often due to like stress. If the chicken is under stress, if she's not getting the right diet, if something's just stressing her out predatory wise.
Can overbreeding be a stressor?
Yeah, crowding. If she's getting older, that sort of thing, that can cause a blood spot inside of an egg. Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, there we go. I didn't know that. Learning something new.
Yeah, but they're safe to eat. They're safe to eat if you see that.
Anything interesting? So that was I think that's about the meat of this, is it not? Because I mean, candling's pretty straightforward, but you should know why you're doing it, when to do it, and it's just like I was saying at the beginning of this video. These are all skills and little tidbits of information you learn as you go on along. Oh, what's my friend Taco saying? I want a few quail hen for eggs and pets. Cool. I want the best for them. Can I house a rooster with them even though I'm not breeding them to eat?
Yes, you can. If you're going to have a rooster with them, if you want them to be nice and pretty, if you want your hens to be nice and pretty and not scruffy looking because of overbreeding, too much attention, they're getting too much attention, then just make sure your ratio is more around 6 hens to the 1 rooster. If you have 1 rooster with 5 hens or less, the hens are going to start to look a bit rough just from him mounting them because he's going to do his job.
If he's young and healthy.
Yeah, if he gets older, he's just going to kind of be a couch potato and be
read
there
the paper.
with But
Maybe
yeah,
the
it's
quail
totally
eggs.
fine if you want to have a rooster in there too.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's awesome. Let us know how that goes. We got, in fact, Taco. I don't know. I always tell people this. If you haven't done quail before, go into the description. These are all free. There's a quail raising checklist down there. It's free. Just click on the link and read through that because that answers all of your how to raise quail questions very quickly. And Berna was saying, my favorite part of processing quail is looking at the underdeveloped eggs inside the hens. You know, I often get, like when I'm doing quails, like the old
The
females,
Mm-hmm.
I might find an egg here and there, and I'm like, should I keep that? I toss it. I just like, I feel bad. It's with everything else. I don't plan to butcher them. I thought a rooster may stress them out.
As long as there's proper ratio of hens to the rooster, then they should be fine. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have the option of hatching chicks, then a rooster is good to have. But,
yeah. Thank you for all the good info. Is there a way to tip you? Let me see here. You could tell me not to walk in the rain without an umbrella. That's a good tip. That's all. No. Oh, yeah, you know what? What do you call that? Hit the like button here on this fabulous video. There we go.
Like and subscribe. That's a great way.
What did Bernie say? Give them to the dogs. Well,
eggs.
Yeah. No, yeah. Give the eggs are good for the dogs.
The ones that you find when processing.
Well, I know that too, but people we deal with, they'll just get quails just for the dogs.
Yeah.
To raise eggs like
for
little dog treats.
Healthy meat too. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was a simpler video, I guess. It wasn't like scientific and academic like some of these other things we do. I'm a science guy, and I like systems, and I really like figuring, understanding this stuff. You know, nature in biology is practically infinitely complex. Molecular biology, all of this stuff is really, really fascinating, and the way these systems work, like these birds and their covey or flock, however you want to say it, it's really fascinating. So if you take the time to learn about them and manage their environment right, Taco, I'm talking to you, then you're going to have really happy critters, healthy birds, you know. And one of the things we talk about frequently is people raising chickens or whatever you're raising, you're keeping them in an artificial environment. So they're not living in their natural environment. So you're trying to simulate a natural environment in this artificial setting, which is a coop or a cage, which is fine. They're still like, we should be living in caves and eating out of the rivers, but we live in houses and stuff. So, you know, yeah, keep the environment optimal for whatever animal you're raising. So you just learn about the animal and what meets their needs and satisfies their physiology and their biology best. You know? So for the quail, you can do that. You know, especially since you're going to be taking time with them as your little pets. So people, we do have people who keep the quail as pets, and they put a little bit more interest in their, I guess, quality of life. You know, instead of just jamming 50 of them in a cage for eggs.
So Vernus is very interesting. Always good to visit your videos. Thank
you.
Let's
Give
see.
them the best life possible before you take them as your own nutrition.
Yeah.
Quite true.
Yeah, and then they'll be healthy meat, healthy eggs
Yeah.
when they're taken care of and have a quality life.
Yep. Okie dokie, guys. This is always fabulous. This is a nice. I like doing this candling video.
Yeah.
Did Angela have fun? Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate you coming in. Taco, if you have any questions about this, just send me a message on the Facebook, or I guess you could even comment in one of these videos. But I'm always available. We're not like 500 million people watching this. It's like 5. We got some. We're a smaller channel, so we can still answer questions. So if you have something you need to know, let me know. All right, guys. This was wonderful. I hope to see you again. If you guys have any ideas for a video that you would like to have us discuss, please let us know. Right?
Yeah.
And because we've done a lot of stuff here and like to share our big brains. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a wonderful
Have a
night.
fabulous night. I'm going to hit my off button here on the
Bye.
phone. Bye.